Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and today we're doing something slightly different for you. Usually, on weekend mission days, on Fridays, we give you a list of decks to try out for weekend missions. Today, we're doing 6 full deck guides for never-before-seen decks on this channel in order to get you prepped for weekend missions. These are both awesome cards. Both Scream and Agent Venom are absolutely incredible. So let's kick it off by talking about the first deck, which is built by the #1 player of the past 2 seasons, Derek, a deck that he says he had good success with. This deck has been really, really solid into bounce in particular. It does rely on Cosmo to really win that matchup, but it can take out the meta bounce deck. We'll talk about what that meta bounce deck is. I'm going to show it to you, even though we already did a full guide in it at right before our second deck. But for the time being, we're going to talk about this, which can take out that meta bounce deck. It can put up points with anything else, including Hela. This is an absolutely stellar power deck. All right, so again, Derek made the list. You need Agent Venom and Kitty in order to play this optimally. Elsa Bloodstone can be Hope Summers. You get some benefit and some loss from that. Hope lets you cheat a bit more, but Elsa is obviously more power. Madam Web is really good here, particularly because of Elsa and because of Angela, but she's not a requirement. It can be Jeff, Kate Bishop, whatever, too. If you're seeing a lot of Scream, please make sure it is Kate as a general rule. Sage can be Hitmonkey here. I think Sage is fairly an awful lot better than Hitmonkey here, but it can be Hitmonkey just fine. And Havoc can be Juggernaut. Juggernaut's really good whenever you're running Cosmo. All right, so the #1 player's deck is always worth looking at, right? And Derek was #1 in August and September of this year, as in last month and the month before. The second player ever to be #1 in back-to-back seasons after Crazy did it in March and April with Thanos. So turn 1, you play Kitty or Bast if you have turn 1 you play Kitty, generally speaking. Bast if you have 2 of Havoc, Bishop, and Mysterio, and I might just play Bast if I have Mysterio because a 2/9 is a lot of power. Although remember, Havoc on the last turn of the game, if you've played Bast, is a 2/7. If you played with Agent Venom, is a 2/8. So 2/9, which is a ton of power, is great, but not like as much or more than the mean as usual. Bishop likes getting the 2 free triggers, and Mysterio is really, really good with Bishop. So again, it's more than 1 power better than Havoc, but it is a comparable card. Turn 2, you really want to play Agent Venom. If not, you're playing Angela. Turn 3, you get down Bishop, and that's generally better than Elsa, which is better than a 2/1. Usually 2 2s on turn 4. This is where you're dropping... let's show you. This is where you're dropping Madam Web and your Angela, for example. This is where you're dropping Mysterio after Bishop with Angela. That kind of play is what you're looking for. You can also do a 3/1, totally fine. And the 3/1 is specifically important because you do have that hood here, and you don't want to play a -3 hood. You want to make sure you hit it with either Agent Venom or Bast. So, but that's a really good turn, usually with Elsa, to get that hood out. Turn 5, you want Mysterio and a 3. And then turn 6, you want a combo of Havoc, Sage, Cosmo, and Demon. You don't really want to play Havoc on turn 5 unless you don't have a second 3 to play, because Sage and Cosmo is very, very often the play. But if you do, you can play. If you do know that you want to go Sage, Demon, and I don't know, Kitty to end the game, then at that point you can play Mysterio and Havoc and get an extra Kitty trigger on turn 5, which is really, really strong. Havoc is a little bit better if you do make the Hope Summer substitution, but that's probably the only real reason to run Hope over Elsa in this list. Elsa is just a lot of power, particularly with Mysterio. If you can make Mysterio a 2/12, and then you can get a couple of those clones 2 more power, you've just basically made yourself a Doctor Doom. Cool. Right after this next little bit, we're going to take a look at Scream Surfer, but let's take one last look at this list. Again, really cool, some low tempo, low to the ground stuff that puts out as much power as anything in Marvel Snap right now. That's the power of Agent Venom. That's what he does. He says these low power decks that used to have to see things in the exact right sequence, because like a late Bishop is terrible, right? But if you've already got an automatic 3 triggers because Bishop is starting as a 3/4, then all of a sudden it doesn't matter as much, right? That kind of power really, really pushes things through the roof. So Agent Venom is an excellent card. Hey, if you're willing to, please hit that sub button. We're trying to hit 15,000 subs before the end of the year. We're basically at 14,000, which means we need 1,000 over the next 2 months. If you're willing to help us get there, it would mean the absolute world to us if you hit that sub button. In return, we do 7 days a week of videos, and we give you at least 4 brand new frickin' Marvel Snap decks coming from some of the best creators at the top of the Infinite Leaderboard, some of the best decks exclusively that you can't find anywhere else, every single day. So if you're interested in getting way more decks than anyone else gives you that are from the best players, proven, powerful, effective decks, hit that sub button. And if you're willing to really help us out, liking and commenting does help us with the YouTube algorithm, which doesn't want to show creators that are sort of mid-sized like us to as many people. So if you like and comment, then YouTube goes, oh, people like this, and then they show it to more people, and then we get more subs, and we'd appreciate your help in that. In addition, your like and sub on this video carries with it a chance to win a season pass. Cool? So you can win a season pass by liking and commenting this video at some point in this video, as long as you're subbed, excuse me. As long as at some point in this video, I'm going to ask a question, and when you answer that question, right, you answer that question in the comments to the video, you are entered to win a season pass. Someone in the comments to this video will win a season pass. That will be announced on Sunday's video. We have 4 season pass winners announced today, later this video as well. All right, Woody Bounce. This is the meta deck. It's actually Gnome Bounce. Gnome created this deck. We said that yesterday, but I'm going to keep showing you this list because this is the meta. This is right now, according to fundamentally everyone I've talked to, and I've talked to everyone, the tier 0 deck. Some people have a Shadow King in it. Some people run slightly different cards. Some people are running Werewolf over Bishop. It doesn't matter exactly which 12, but this is the meta deck. This is the tier 0 deck. Bounce is at the top of the meta. Couldn't be happier. I love Bounce. But you need to know this deck. If you're interested in this deck, I covered it immediately upon its release on Wednesday as the featured deck of the day, as the best deck. It's what I've been climbing to Infinite with. This deck is through the freaking roof powerful. Please, please, please give it a try. But that's not the deck we're here to talk about. This is just the deck that we're responding to. When you have a tier 0 deck, everything else in the metagame must respond to it. So this deck responds to it by fundamentally saying, Killmonger, right? Like, the real way this wins is if it can throw Prio, it can Killmonger. Also, Scream is really, really annoying against Bounce. It doesn't always work, right? But when Scream gets going against Bounce, it takes a lot of those things that would be really big power and sort of makes them not threats anymore. This is a very simple deck. It was made by Ekmati, the Brazilian player we featured yesterday, who chills near the top of the Infinite leaderboard. This is one that he used on his way to Infinite. I gave this a try. This felt very strong. Scream is a little inconsistent in this, but when it goes off, it is more than worth it, and you're always happy to have. You want a second 2 in Surfer pretty badly. So you can find Ekmati on Twitter at twitter.com/Ekmati. You need Scream, Shaw, and Gwenpool for this particular version. There are plenty of Surfers that don't run Scream, but for this version, you do need it. Hope Summers is great, but not required, and can be Sarah. Hope is, generally speaking, significantly better than Sarah. Hope generally means +1 3-drop in games where you, in the game, but what Hope takes away is your general likelihood of going Brood into Absorbing Man, which is one of the more powerful play patterns because you want to Hope, right? Sarah keeps the Brood, Absorbing Man, Sarah 3/3s play pattern more easily. This had an 80% win rate on the way to Infinite. Again, super powerful list. Turn 1, you pass. Turn 2, Forge, if Brood or Shaw. If not, you play Scream. Turn 3 is Hope over the Forged cards. Generally speaking, you want to get Hope out. If you played Scream, Polaris or Spidey make a lot of sense. Feel free to drop Brood. If you played a Forge, feel free to drop, you can kind of drop almost any 3. You don't want to Killmonger this early, though. Turn 4, you want Gwen on Hope, or Absorb Man on Brood. After Brood, you play Absorb Man, or you can just play whatever 3 you want. Ideally, if you have Hope out, you're playing a 3 here, because then you can double 3 on turn 5 on Hope, which is pretty damn strong. Turn 5, if you didn't Hope, you want Forge on Brood or Shaw, and you're fine with Scream and Polaris or Spidey as well. Please note, Scream on Polaris or Spidey is a 9 power play on turn 5, which is pretty damn good. You just played, almost an arrow's worth of power, and you got a bunch of disruption out of it, so it's really nice. Or if you played on Hope in the previous turns, you can just drop whatever 2 3s. Turn 6 is a card that makes sense with Surfer, and that card that makes sense can be a lot of things. We're going to look at another awesome Agent Venom list after this awesome Scream list. We're going to alternate for the rest of the video between those two. Also, I hid one of the best decks at the end of the video. Spoiler alert. But this list is super duper cool. It's very powerful. The end of the game turn, sometimes you want a Juggernaut because you want to try and win a lane with less power, right? Sometimes you hit Shaw a couple times with Gwenpool and you've been hiding that and you want to play that with Surfer because all of a sudden you can take a lane up to almost 20. Sometimes you're against Bounce and you've managed to throw a priority and you would really, really just like to drop a Killmonger in order to get rid of all their 1s and win the game. How you win is ultimately a little bit complicated here. Sometimes you played on Hope on turn 5 and you played you played Brood and Shaw, and then you played 2 more 3s because, you played Hope and then you played Shaw, and then you played Brood and Killmonger, and now you just want to go Surfer Absorbing Man and really go over the top. All of these are perfectly fine things to do at the end of the game. They make perfect sense for the list. Hey, if you want to see gameplay for these, please check out the stream team. It's Friday. Friday is one of the best days of the week, and it is the day of the Pirate King, Tuccrr, who streams between 10 and 11 p.m. Eastern. Please do check out our homie, Tuccrr, one of the best streamers in the world. King of Canada has some gameplay with yesterday's decks on his YouTube. Also, because tomorrow morning is the podcast, check out FaThorNewman streaming all the week's decks tomorrow morning, doing a big test day. All right, next up we have Lowell's Agent Darkhawk, and this is the thumbnail deck. I love this list. I think that this list has an absolute ton of play into the tier 0 deck and everything else. This can beat Hela. This can beat Bounce. This can handle Move. This list is awesome. How does it handle Bounce? Well, Cosmo is really, really good against Bounce, especially with Juggernaut. But you can also just match Bounce's power if you get your early scalers going with Iron Man, right? An 8-power Iron Man, thanks to Agent Venom, is through the roof power. You can do 8-power Iron Man into 8-power Mystique and a Cosmo, and your Bounce opponent's just dead. We handle Hela fundamentally largely by going over the top, but the end game play of Juggernaut Cosmo gives you a 2/3 chance in stopping their Hela if you can figure out where they're likely to play it and keep priority. And spoiler, with this much power, you should. Also, they have rocks in their deck, so they're much less consistent. Those rocks also help against Move, and the other way you can beat Move, which goes really, really tall, is you've got Iron Man and Mystique there, and then, of course, Move has very, very key sequencing, and Juggernaut does an amazing job at messing up that sequencing. So this list has play into fundamentally the whole meta every deck. This is one of the best decks in the game. It is crazy strong. I would not be surprised to see versions of this become more and more popular as we go forward. You can find Alliance Lowell at twitter.com/Alliance Lowell. He's in our Snap Judgments Alliance Snap Legends. He's in the top 10 ranks of Marvel Snap with this list right freaking now. This list needs Agent Venom, Thena, Kitty, and Darkhawk, but Kate Bishop is not terribly important and can be Nightcrawler. You could also try a Shadow King in that spot should you be so inclined. This list is awesome. So turn 1, you want to play Korg because you want to give them more chance to see that rock. That's over Kitty. Turn 2 is Agent Venom over Angela over Thena. If you don't have a second 1, and you do have Thena, you play Kate, because Kate gives you the 1 to play with Thena on turn 3. Turn 4, you play 2+1 if Thena, and if not, you play Rock Slide. So ideally, that would be Thena and a 1 on turn 3, or Angela and a 1 with Thena on turn 2. If you're really lucky, though, you went Agent Venom into Thena and Kitty or Korg on turn 3. Then, especially if, again, Kate gave you 1's Korg or you have Kitty, Rock Slide into 1 is your goal on turn 4, but you're also fine going 2/2 because, like, this is a good time to get out your Kate, this is a good time to get out that Angela that was sitting in your hand, so on and so forth. Turn 5, Darkhawk or Iron Man. If Darkhawk is humongous, feel free to play Darkhawk. If you have, like, a bunch of scalers that are gaining a bunch of power, then Iron Man's better. You're going to have to decide based on the situation on the board. Turn 6 is 2 of Mystique, Juggernaut, and Cosmo, and then you win. You might notice that, by the way, that's 2 cards, which is going to give you 1 extra Thena trigger. Mystique on Darkhawk or Iron Man is a ton of power. Cosmo is back-breaking for Bounce. If you can hit their Sage lane or their Hitmonkey lane, that's often the power they're using to win that lane. Or you can Juggernaut plenty of decks just straight out of their safety zone. Speaking of safety, after we look at this list one more time, we're going to look at Safety Blade's deck, the great Safety Blade's deck, Scream at Safety. So this is Lowell's list. It is super cool. I am having a freaking blast with this. It is incredibly strong. This is a meta buster. Hey, if you're interested in the new Pokemon Pocket game, which is basically the Marvel Snap of Pokemon, please check out our channel. We should have a video up tomorrow, a second video of the week. We're doing 2 videos a week. We're not going as in-depth as we are to Marvel yet, so give it time. As we learn the game, but right now we're just learning and having fun with Pokemon Pocket with my 8-year-old son Noah. So if you're in the mood for some nice, fun, wholesome content, please do check out the Pocket Meta. All you have to do is type in the Pocket Meta, Pulse Glazer, or you can check the description to this video for the link to that channel. All right, Scream at Safety. Okay, let's start with, I'm not 100% sure why Luke Cage is in this deck. This is a safety deck. I present the decks. I don't always know exactly why every single card is here, but Luke Cage is sort of your, like, big swing card if there's something you want to try here. Might I suggest Cosmo since you have Juggernaut and Hell is still a thing. Or another Clog card, as the case may be. Like a Debris is not the worst thing I've ever heard in this exact place. So this list is fundamentally the first way we've seen we've known that Clog should work with Scream, but it was really hard to get going. So Safety actually combined 3 packages: Scream package with Polaris and Stegron, and Cannonball and Juggernaut to a lesser extent. Those are just sort of good general cards. With the Clog of White Widow, Green Goblin, right? Widow and Goblin are your Clog cards. And then you can use Stegron and Polaris as further Clog, which makes Cannonball incredibly powerful. And then you combine that with the Thena package, and that's Thena, Angela, Kitty. You have all these things going together, and you have a really powerful deck. You can find Safety at twitch.tv/SafetyBlade. SafetyBlade is a Marvel Snap Zone writer, currently on hiatus like myself, just because life gets complicated. But Safety is notable in Marvel Snap for creating numerous meta decks. The one that you most recently would have heard of that he created was the Slayer Blade deck, which was the Ravonna Professor X Cannonball list that ran Thena and stuff. That was a Safety Blade original. He is a brilliant deck builder, and we like to feature his decks where possible. Also, good friend of the show. So you need Scream. If no Thena, go with Kraven here. So basically, Kraven and Kingpin are perfectly viable replacements here. They're not as good necessarily as Thena, but they're not significantly worse. No Kitty can be Kingpin, but at that point, even if you have Thena, you're cutting Thena and Angela. You're just going to try and go elsewhere with these cards for more into junk. Turn 5 is Sable, or can be Kingpin or Nightcrawler, and I think that's the easiest change to make. I think Kingpin might actually just be better than Silver Sable here, because one Kingpin trigger makes it a 1/4. One Silver Sable trigger is a 1/5, but you're not ever triggering Silver Sable twice, and you're reasonably often going to be able to trigger Kingpin twice, so there's that. You can also just play Nightcrawler Bishop. White Widow can be Kate, Bishop, or Jeff. I think you really want White Widow here, but it's not required. And if you don't have Cannonball, you're stuck playing Shang, and now the junk is sort of gone, and the deck might fall apart. So this is a fairly finicky thing that's a bunch of packages, so changing one card often means changing several, and so you're sort of stuck where you are. All right, this is Safety's best Scream shell so far, according to the man himself. So turn 1 is Sable over Kitty. You just want to get Sable out, give them more time to be forced to play that card, or have it sit in their hand being dead. Turn 2, you want Scream, Thena, or Angela, depending on your hand. If you know you're going to play a move card the next turn, you play Scream. If you know you're going to play Green Goblin next, you play Angela. If you know you're going to play Widow and Kitty, or Widow and Sable next, you want to play Thena. So that's how you decide turn 3. Turn 4 is either 3+1 or a Stegron. And turn 5 is either Stegron and a 1 or 3+2. And at that point, you really want to clog a lane to win with Cannonball or Juggernaut. And then turn 6 is Cannonball or Juggernaut. You guessed it. You got it. That's how you play it. Really straightforward list. Very powerful. This is sort of almost an evolution of the original Slayer Blade, right? Slayer Blade was built around Professor X and Cannonball and the Thena package. This is using the Thena package to support a move clog, which still makes Cannonball a game winner. Very cool list. Props to Safety for being the first to come up with a workable version of this, because everyone knew there had to be one. Season Pass winners thus far, and this is our second list of Season Pass winners. Check last Sunday's video for the first list. There's a few people who didn't claim them. And then we will announce the last 2 Season Pass winners on Sundays. And then we're going to do the question for this video, and in order to be announced on Sunday, on right after this next deck. So Cupidity, Connor Hines, 15, Nate Kell, and Go Leader, 7100 are our winners. If the 4 of you would reach out to me via email at snapjudgmentspod@gmail.com or on Discord at PulseGlazer, I can get you set up with your season passes. Black Dama. We got a Black Dama exclusive. We love Black Dama. Black Dama calls us back to square one. Black Dama is a brilliant deck creator over on Twitter. He comes with some of the most original and creative builds, combining things that no one else would think to combine. This one is saying, I'm going to get my freaking benefits from running low power cards no matter what. I'm going to hit best and make myself a 9 power Brood, or give Surfer or Cassandra Nova or Iron Man that extra power, or Sage or whatever that extra power. Or I'm going to be able to Agent Venom them, and I'm going to get my extra power that way. Or I'm going to be able to play Ravonna and just cheat energy. You're basically always going to see one of those 3 things. And even if you see 2, you just sort of just don't do the other except for as power, and you're totally freaking fine. That's this list in a nutshell. It is just saying, I will find a way to put out more power than you expect and be able to steal cubes as a result. You can find Black Dama at twitter.com/Black Dama. Right as this video went live, Black Dama very likely released a tweet with this deck explaining it. So if you have more questions, please check them out. This needs Agent Venom and Sage. Iron Lad can be Sarah. That would actually be the change I would make here if I had to. I think Sarah is probably very good because it makes things cheaper, but it doesn't care how much things cost. You can also go with Hope Summers there. Ravonna can be Mysterio here. Not running Mysterio actually hurts my soul a little bit. With both Bast and Agent Venom, Mysterio is probably too good not to run. And Cassandra Nova can be Mysterio or Bishop. If you do add Mysterio, Bishop makes a lot more sense. Again, Black Dama's back. He hasn't been releasing as many decks lately, but when he does, it's a freaking event. Check his Twitter if you don't believe me. Turn 1, Bast if Iron Man or Mystique, and that's generally better than Ant-Man. And if you don't have Iron Man Mystique, there's not much point in basting. You can bast an early Sage, right? But just make sure you're not losing power. It's not worth losing power elsewhere, usually to end up basting like Sage. Turn 2, Agent Venom over Ravonna. Turn 3 is Brood over Cassandra Nova. Turn 4 is Iron Lad, and that Brood over Cassandra Nova is why I might like Bishop here. Because if I don't want to play Cassandra Nova right after turn 3, then Bishop's probably just better. Like the Bishop with 2 cards after being hit by one of the others is going to be bigger than Cassandra Nova at that point. Turn 4 is Iron Lad over another 3. Turn 5, Iron Man is better than cheap cards and Sage. And turn 6 is a comp of Sage and Mystique for Iron Man and Surfer. Cool. Nice and simple. This is just say, how do I put out the most power? If you see Iron Man and any of the buffs, you're in really the pole position of winning games. We're going to take one last look at this beauty of a deck, and then we'll end the video. Also, fair warning. If you know you're going to have to Shang, if you can read that they're like a Hella deck and you want to throw Pryor and Shang, you might want to go the Ravonna route over the Bast or Agent Venom route so that you can go Iron Man and then copy that with Mystique and still have the space to Shang-Chi. Just a small trick for this list. It is, however, it feels like it's a lot of moving parts and a lot of wheels, but then you play it and everything feels so smooth. So do check this one out. Season Pass question for the day is really, really simple. There is a new format for weekend. This is a new format as compared to our usual videos where we do a regular old deck video and then we follow that regular old deck video up with just a list of weekend mission decks. Do you like just the full guide going all in for the damn weekend missions, or do you like the previous way we did it better? Let me know what you think. All right, Santrican's Scream Wiccan Move. This is the hidden deck that I was putting at the end. This one is in stellar. Like, this list is legitimately insanely good. This is, I think, I didn't get a million games with it. I think the best that Scream has felt. Because Wiccan gives you so many options to play that Scream that it's through the roof. I did change one card. I'll tell you what that is on the next slide. But this list is so good. You can find Sandracon at twitter.com/Sandracon26. Sandracon usually chills around the top 100, but is mostly a tournament player. He is one of the more accomplished tournament players in Marvel Snap. This deck needs Wiccan and Scream, but Jeff, in my opinion, should absolutely be Kate Bishop. And if not, you can play White Widow. Those are the 3 best 2s in the game, like as far as just like generic 2s. So the reason I want Kate is, let's say I play Quicksilver, and then I want to play both Scream and Kraven, because I have a lot of my move cards, right? I can hold my Polaris or Spider-Man to later, because after Wiccan, they get even more powerful late in the game. So I can go, I don't have another 1 to play on turn 3, though, right? Or let's say I just went, my draws were like, after Quicksilver, I went Scream, Kraven, Jeff, Wiccan, Stegron. Now I don't have a 3. Well, Kate Bishop solves that problem by giving me 1s that will then be able to work with everything else I'm trying to do in this list. Yes, that's some counter synergy with Killmonger, but I can choose what order I play things in to still get value, or I can use those ones like to clog and then get other wins elsewhere, other ways. So Sandracon's Scream Wiccan Move is great, but I do think it should be running Kate Bishop. All right, so this is spicy. Again, this is my favorite list, I think, of Scream so far. I didn't see this one coming. I didn't think of combining it with Wiccan, but and we're going to talk about what makes it so different and powerful and why Wiccan goes so well with Scream. But turn 1, you Quicksilver. Turn 2, you Scream over Kraven. Turn 3 is Polaris or Spidey, or you can play Kraven with a 1, which is very, very strong. Turn 4, if you can Wiccan, I think that's a snap condition here against most decks. You're fine playing Stegron. If you can't, you're trying to You're trying to clog with Stegron at that point, especially after Polaris. If you Wiccan, though, you can play Stegron and a 3. You have 7 energy on turn 5. You can play Stegron and Polaris or Spidey to suddenly mess the opponent up badly. You can also play Arrow and Kraven. Just huge value, right? That's a 14 power turn if you manage to do that. You don't really want to do that. You really want to play Stegron in 3 because you want to be able to play Arrow and either Juggernaut or Killmonger to end the game. If you can play Arrow and Juggernaut or Killmonger, the opponent had no say fundamentally where their cards ended up, and you've ruined them. Against Bounce, Arrow, and Killmonger, you just played a 10 and a 3, but that 3 is also representing like 10 to 15 power, and it's Chef's Kiss power. And look, sometimes you're not going to see Wiccan, right? So you just go Polaris or Spidey into Stegron, into Arrow, into Magneto, and you say, I'm going to put out a ton of power, so I'm putting out the power and the disruption of the 7, the 10, the 12, but also each of these are growing my Scream or Craven, so I get all that extra power from that too. Stellar freaking list. I love this. Please try this. I hit it at the end for the real ones, so give it a go. Questions of the day. So, all right, we're going to talk about Agent Venom now. So Agent Venom is 2/4 on reveal, set the power to all cards in your deck to 4. It will be series 5, 6,000 tokens. Get this card, please. This is like gonna have to be nerfed. Its stats are through the roof. Its cube rate at top 10% infinite is like 0.4, which at top 10% infinite when people retreat conservatively is insane. This is one of the best cards they've released in a really long time. Best since arishem. Like, it's not as good as arishem, right? Arishem utterly broke the game for a while, but it's the best card they've released since arishem. I think I'm fairly confident in that fact, and I love Kate Bishop. I think this is a significantly better card than Kate Bishop, although Kate Bishop is obviously more versatile. Go buy this card. The stats are through the roof. All the top players love it. You will not regret it. We will have a billion decks with this forever, although honestly, we might just know what the decks are for this relatively soon. They're great. Okay, how good is Agent Venom for question of the day? We know, we just answered that. How good is Scream? Well, let's talk about it. Scream is a 2/2. When an enemy card moves, steal 2 power from it once per turn. We are still working on the right Scream build. I think that Sandra Gunman might be pretty damn close, and I think that Safety Win might be pretty damn close. However, even as we work on it, Scream's got an insanely high win rate at infinite level. That seems notable to me. That at infinite level, this card that people are saying doesn't work still has a slightly higher win rate than Agent Venom, even if it has half the cube rate. Remember, Agent Venom's cube rate is through the roof, game-breakingly high. Scream having a really high win rate gives me a lot of hope for this. Do I think you should buy this card right now? I cannot urge you to buy this card right now. We don't have the deck. But this is, again, starting to feel like, or has continued to feel like Cannonball, like Ajax, where we're just working on the right builds. I will be back on Monday with a last chance review of Scream. My last chance review for Scream will figure out with the stats, with the weekend, when everyone has to build with this card for weekend missions, whether there really is something here or not. I think there is, but I can't promise you that. And while I want to say go get this card, I can't put my gut over what all the top players are telling me, but my gut's in agreement with the statistics, but the statistics are small sample size. Hopefully you see the problem here. I think Scream is an absolute borderline card. If you want this new archetype, if you want to play this new archetype and you don't care if it's the best, go get this card right now. If you need Mobius and Man-Thing, I love Man-Thing, then feel free to go get Scream. If neither one of those two are the case, you can miss this card. For now. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. I'm going to say thank you to the following people. Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, FaThorNewman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., I Am Frostman, Jay Neverett, Corbin, Prime Brian, Ryan Burke, Garrett Tixley, Coy Ray, Black Dahlia, Pyrofrost, The Goat Seeker, Denman Falcon, Archangel 3K, Hollowed, Hey Hollowed, our newest friend still, Quid Pro Joe, Docty, the Hindu Moral Snap Card Content, Fat Nick, Mr. Fuffle, Ginger Prime, Philip Ratkovich, Haplo, Kenny Lockett of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Exorcist V, and Skippy G. Tommy Nyquist, winners National League Season 1, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Campbell, Woody, Kevsey Hoda, Luna Chris, Quantum Quinn, John Q, Jimmy McQ, Clam, 8th Sage, Models, The Mod Supreme, who has a huge announcement soon, get ready, Darth Tater, Joe P, who's no Joe K, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B, Jake D. McDonaldino, The Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrum X, Hoot, Matt H, DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Greg Sterry, BG, Jonesy, Spike Jones, Two Ties, The Great Lord Evans, The Pirate King Tuccrr. Check him out tonight, please. The Homie Man, and of course, Gunny T, with the T stands for. If you would like to see some more great Marvel Snap decks, that video is right below. And right above that great list of Marvel Snap decks, you can find a wonderful Pokemon Pocket video. If you'd like to sub, it's right at the bottom of the screen, right below me. See you tomorrow for another Snap. Oh, no. See you tomorrow for Snap Treasures Podcast, where we talk about the new cards of the season. And then another Snap Take will be something you can find in on Saturday, where we have the top 5 decks of last season and the top 5 expected decks of the new one. Peace.